Hey Shafin, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice Saturday. I can't complain.
Thanks for joining me today on labor. Appreciate you taking the time on this beautiful Saturday, like you said.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's been cold for the last few days, so this is a perfect day to do this podcast. I was really excited to talk about adversity.
Yes, adversity. I know that's something that you know you've obviously have overcome in many different ways, personally and with your career, and I think you have a great story to share with all the other people who can relate. Over adversity is something we all have to overcome in many different ways. Some of us are better than others at it, and I think the hope is for people who are listening to sort of relate to what you have to say in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's aspects of their lives that they can connect to yours.
Yeah.
But before we dive into it, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about who you are. Who is Shafin for everyone who's listening?
Well, just to give you background, I grew up in Bangladesh. I came here when I was 11 years old. Grew up in Brooklyn. Went to school in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn, and we went to the same college, St. John's, together. Studied government politics. So, but you have to face adversity I studied government politics, but I had to change my route, right? Because you face certain obstacles, certain courses that came in your way, so to make adjustment, and I adapt. And now I'm in finance industry. That was a journey. So, I mean, in terms of my life, I believe like there's different aspect of adversity, right? There's personal level, and there are circumstances that you can't control, like your social environment that you grew up in, your culture, your gender. I think all those aspects are something that you can control, and there's personal adversity, something that you make yourself, put yourself in places in terms of setting yourself goals. So what adversity you want to set yourself to in terms of making a personal hurdle that you want to jump over when you want to get to certain aspect in life or certain forms of life.
What do you think is the biggest example of adversity you've had to overcome?
Well, when I was coming to this country, I think it's coming to this country at the age of 11 and basically adjusting to the culture, learning how to communicate with other people, learning a different language, just adapt. That's one of the biggest things I had to overcome as a child coming to this country. But in terms of obstacles, right? When it comes to career-wise, right? Making it so you probably know this. In terms of, I used to work for this company, a finance company. Then I worked there for over a year. It was a great opportunity, great salary. Then in terms of dealing with day-to-day workflow, in terms of dealing with the manager, dealing with status quo at my job, I had to make adjustments that's not something I want to face day to day. So I decided to leave the company that I was at and, take a chance in terms of finding a way to make myself happy. So I have to look for different opportunities that's gonna adjust to my environment. So I decided to leave the company and basically be unemployed for 8 months. And there are things you deal with when you're unemployed for 8 months. I think coming to this country is one of the biggest one, and adjusting the culture, learning new different things, and just being culture shock. That's one of the biggest adversity in my personal life. That's where I was forced, right? Then you have to overcome that. Then personally, there are decisions I made in terms of leaving my job because I wasn't happy. Then in that period of 8 months, I had to overcome those obstacles and finding something that I love, something I would have passion for. I think that's another thing that I had to overcome. In terms of finding yourself in career that's right for you, I think that's one of the biggest adversity as a 25 to 30 years old kid living in New York. I think that's everyone's search in life, right? Finding the right thing, right career, right goal. One of the things I think our generation lacks is being patient when it comes to dealing with adversity. You could easily fall in the trend of doing things over and over, keep making the same mistake. If you don't like something, you don't stay at it. You just give up on it and you just accept the norm. For example, through the 8 months I struggled not finding a job, there are certain big things I could have done. I could have just accepted that, live on unemployment, take a okay job, work at a grocery store for minimum wage and keep doing that for the rest of my life. But you just have to learn to get up every morning and try to overcome that fear of, you know, financially not stable, being not be professionally stable as well, not having the career path you want. So you could go down that way easily if you don't know how to deal with that adversity of overcoming your fear.
It's funny you say that, how you tie adversity to patience, because I feel like that's the complete opposite of quitting your job, right? If you were patient, you would have stayed.
Well, there's a difference between that, right? There's a quitting and a prospect when you don't have long-term goals, when you're not thinking about your job every day. Every day I went into work, I realized the culture is not for me. The way someone is treating you, that's a sign that you could accept it and keep taking it every day and accept that as a norm. Then you'll do that for the rest of your life, right? You'll do this not only for this job, you'll do that for outside your job. The people you interact with, you could be that guy where you get knocked out every day when you do anything in life. So you could keep taking that and accept that as a norm, or you could say, I had enough of this. I'm gonna risk it all, and just because I have higher standard, higher morals, and realize who I am at that point in my life, to know that I don't have to take this. No one has to take anything in life. You just have to realize that, because that's because you are pushed to a certain environment, because if you have financial need, for example, if you look at my status on that time, I had great financial stability. I could just stay there and be like, okay, I'm just gonna accept my salary because it's great and keep doing this because I have to. Or I could just, take a chance on myself, risk it all. Maybe I'll be bigger than something. Maybe I'll be a bigger person. And not only you have a greater choice of having greater rewards when you take that chance, because you know who you are and you know what you're built out for. If you fail, you come out knowing who you are, right? If you fail, you learn from it, right? You try again, all right? Let's say I never got a job that I wanted during that time. I was unemployed for 2 years, but I would still keep trying, right? So I still, you still try to overcome the adversity at that time, even if you fail.
You make it sound. I always praise you for that, for taking that leap.
Yeah, it was a leap of faith.
It's not easy to quit a job, get away from that stability, and I know for myself, any job I've ever had that I was unhappy, I couldn't find in myself to quit. But you did, and I think you talked to it. It's about knowing who you are. Do you think that it's interesting you being so young, say that you know who you are, and the irony is that you mentioned this culture shock of coming here.
Yeah. Okay, we could talk. Let's go back to that. That's actually a great point you brought up. Maybe I wouldn't have maybe I had the experience of it, right? I had dealt with a certain time in my life to deal with that situation, that I guess it's like a human nature, Darwinism, when you adapt to that environment, because I was so shocked when I came here and it didn't faze me. Also you gotta go back to my upbringings, came here not knowing how to speak English, right? I was bullied, I was beat down, right? Every day I went to school at times because I didn't speak English, right? There was certain bully I faced, but I never stepped down from it. I don't have to take this. you didn't like, you didn't make, you don't feed me. Like, you have no understanding of who I am, for where I'm coming from. So don't like, maybe that transition into work as well. Like, you don't have to take that from someone who doesn't own you. They just pay your salary to have you do their line of work, right? You're just doing, you processing, you doing this for the company that's bigger than you. And also, I mean, having that experience, you're right. Maybe it's our upbringing, coming up, overcoming those adversity when you're younger. It does transition into where you are in life, right? What choices you make. You're becoming constant to dealing with certain situations. There's some people, it's not for them, right? They will adapt. They wouldn't adapt. They just accept that. It's like, hey, I need this. If I was 40 years old, maybe I was 40 years old, I had a family during that time. I don't think I would have taken the chance. No, there's no way, because I have too much things on my shoulder, right? It's taking the risk at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right in that case. I mean, also, you gotta realize we're not dealing with the situation we used to be like 1980s, where baby boomers would be going to work 9 to 5 and working corporate job. You just have to feed a family. That's not what it's all about anymore, right? The work environment changes as well. So the way you deal with adversity, you don't have to accept the corporate life, like day to day, doing this. No, I think there's a certain circle in life. When you accept those norms, you'll keep doing it over and over and over, and you keep accepting those crap from other people. Then it transitions into your friends, family. You also go back in circle and doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So you just have to kick yourself out of it sometimes and take those risks. And I think one of the other thing of dealing with adversity is having a family, friends who has the same mentality to push you when you are down on your lowest point in life. There are people treat you differently. You lose friends on those times, right? Because you don't have financial capability to go out with them every day. There are people that I used to meet for happy hour every day. They're not around anymore to go out to happy hour. There's a certain circle that will come together to support you, give you the motivation to do something greater for yourself. Like, it was like for me, that 8 months was like a cleansing in my life. Like, clean out everything, it's like sometimes you have to destroy everything to build it from the foundation, from the ground up, brick by brick. So you take the good friends, you take the good family, you take the moral philosophy of what it means. What's the most important things to you? That's what I figured out when I was in that 8 months. I figured out that professional status is fucking amazing. That's what I want to be. I always want to have the highest professional status. 2, I learned about myself of what is being the worst, lowest point in your life. Like, how I react to other people, how I interacted with them. Did I go off on anyone? Like, I did. Like, when I was lowest and I was down, I didn't have confidence to go out and talk to a girl or anyone, right? So those things affected me in a way. So I realized I'll never make myself go down that path again. But it also built confidence on, like, you building something out of nothing, basically. You have this tiny little things, your friends, family, no financial status, nothing. You have to use those to build up your confidence to do anything, right?
So, safe to say that adversity you dealt with by making that decision to quit and going through that struggle was a positive. You got a lot out of it.
Yes. There's personal level where I learned, I told you, like, personal, what is important to me. I realized those personal status, like professional status, family, friends, right? And having a clear mentality on dealing with things. I think those are 3 things I learned for myself. I think those helped me. And also, when you are beat down to the lowest point in life, like, I felt that was the lowest point in my life. When I go to work every day, I don't think about losing my job ever again. It's like if there's a most stressful day in my life at my job, it's nothing to what I dealt with those 8 months. So it's like building endurance. You're running a marathon, right? You practice. And when I got my job, that's the marathon, that's the race I was preparing for. So everything I practiced for, I dealt with the worst condition. Practice is harder than actual game. So that 8 months trial was my practice. Now I'm running a marathon. Every condition I could adjust to. It cannot be any worse. Those 8 months as opposed to running this 1 day race. I feel that. That's what I put my job as, a 1 day race. It's like, let's say 20, 35 miles. Rest is just practice to build that for that race. You can look at that way as well. Like now that I'm in the race, my friends, family, other things that I deal with, they are the foundation. The house that I've been building from the bottom up, they're the foundation that keep me going. So I don't regret it at all. I would go back in 2 seconds and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say then is your definition of adversity?
Ooh. That's hard. I talked about it in the beginning. Maybe I went too fast. There's adversity that you are forced to face. You're born into, right? Your culture, you're born in a low-income family, you're a minority, right? So that's the adversity those are things that you can't control, right? You're born in that, and you have to overcome those hurdles to go to next level or be successful, right? So those adversity are that you can't control, right? Those are typical adversity. You're African American male, you have least chance of graduating college. You're female, right? You have least chance of being a CEO of a company, right? So those are circumstances you are placed onto. Those are the things that you have to overcome, right? And as opposed to someone who is born in a wealthy family, right? Your adversity is going to be coming up, your personal adversity you put yourself into, right? You're overcoming your own wealth. Like, everything's given to me. What do I do with this, right? What's my plan? Like, I have all these resources. How do I make something of myself? That's your personal adversity, right? You're dealing with, my father gave me this. How do I overcoming that? How do I not live under my dad's name? That's their adversity, right? So then there's personal adversity, right? There's social structure. Personal adversity is something that you want to face to get to where you are, right? So for example, you want to be a doctor, right? So you have to go through all this hurdle, all this long hours, all this personal, separating your family life to having that goal of being a doctor. So I think there's two ways of looking at it. The social environment that you put into, that's adversity itself. And there's personal adversity, that where you want to be at as a person and in your career. And the things that you have to overcome. I don't mean things overcome as in like things that you overcome in terms of dealing with your family and friends and consolidating the two together to get to your goal. Those are other adversity. That includes your mentality, your mindset, your physical aspect, how you deal with stresses. Those are all the things that you have to overcome to get to where you are. That's the personal aspect of it.
For the types of people who are clearly struggling in life, you talk about people with addiction, homeless people, or even just friends that are just not, they're in a low spot. Why do you think some people are just better at dealing with adversity than others?
There are people, I guess, who deals with adversity you met people, right? For example, there are people who complain about those adversity, right? It's like, I can't do this because this is what I can't overcome because this person put it to me. This is his fault. This is their fault. This is their fault. Those are the people that complain about other things as opposed to looking at themselves and figure out a way to get over it, right? Those are the people that you see consistently talk about for all their life. Those are the people that will never go over those hurdles, right? They will come to you, sit next to you, and talk to you about it. hey, I'm gonna do this, but I can't do this because of this person, or this because of my company won't allow to do this, or because I can't do this because I went out with my friends the other day because I just couldn't do this. The excuses they make up, depending on how long they're gonna do this excuse, there are people who will stuck in that norm for the rest of their life because they'll keep doing this over and over. The excuses will never end. And there are people who are struggling right now, right? This is you going through this, right? You might not have this, you might not be facing this kind of adversity, but you face something else, you'll get out of it. Just every way, you just have to have this mentality of getting up every day and just set yourself a schedule, like have a routine. I'm gonna do this from 9 to 10. For example, one of the biggest things I dealt was like having a mentality of as if I was working every day. That's applying for jobs. I woke up at 9 o'clock as if I was going to office, 9 a.m. and applied to job until 5. I took a break, 1 hour break for lunch, then I reapplied for a job. So my job, I made myself a schedule as if like I'm working. That's my job was to find a job, and that's being set up a routine, set up a schedule, and there are people who won't necessarily gonna make it out of it. That's the truth, right? Not everyone's gonna make it out of that circle of life.
Definitely, yeah, definitely sounds like it's a matter of doing less talking and doing more action.
Yeah, I mean, you could keep talking about struggle, so you feel people are sympathetic towards you. That's everyone's gonna feel sympathetic for you, but no one's gonna hand you a job, and no one's gonna say, "Hey, here's a solution. This is a magic pill. You can take it, and everything's gonna be okay." No, people are gonna feel sympathetic for you for today. If you go complain to, that's how you even lose friends, right? You lose your family member and friends because you're not doing. Let's say you feel you're dealing with something, right? You lost your job, right? Every day come and you talk to the same friend over and over and over and over, and they have to listen to you. Imagine how that's annoying, and that's wasting their time if you're not doing anything about it. I'm pretty sure if you have good friends that's gonna give you advice and you're not following any of it, and you keep doing the same thing, that's insanity. You're doing something over and over with expecting the same damn results, and you're gonna lose your friends, friend's friend, then you lose your family, and you don't have credibility. In the end, you're gonna be stuck in that. You're not going to jump over the hurdle ever in your life because you lost the people that believed in you. So, just take the advice as to talking.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. What do you think in your current daily life is the type of adversity you're dealing with now? Like, what is Shafin's adversity now on a daily? You say you know who you are.
Yeah, I know what I want to do when said and done. I want to give back. I grew up in Bangladesh, coming from a third world country, so I want to make some kind of impact in there. I want to focus on human rights and equality. Eventually, I think end of it, that's what I want to do. I think my struggle is, when do I decide that? When do I say I'm okay with leaving what I have to do something greater for my community, or something greater for making some kind of impact in life, right? Just if you could just make some kind of touch to make it okay, I want to do that, to have some kind of impact in life. And that's the diversity of deciding when I want to do it. Like, when is the right time?
Do you feel like you can't have your stable job and career and have more of an impact on something on the side that you're working towards?
If I'm gonna leave that, I'm gonna leave it for, I want to do something meaningful. When I say that, I was listening to this podcast where the guy said there are millionaire, right? There's some millionaires, there's billionaires, there's like guys that you don't even know who's a quadrillionaire, right? That you don't even have a chance to go into that table because those are closed doors in life. They wouldn't open a door for anyone in social status and a status of it. And sometimes I want to climb somewhere there and maybe hope to open the door for people that are like me to come in and maybe get some kind of ideas. Then I think I have bigger impact in doing that as opposed to just leaving right now and just, doing something, join like, human rights movement or something like that. I want to do something even bigger. I want to have a bigger impact than just campaigning, grassroots movement. I want to do something impactful.
Let's talk about that. What?
Damn. I didn't know it was going to be that deep. Okay.
No, because I want to talk about this because impact, this idea of impact is to the core of what labor is.
Yeah.
I think everyone deep inside really they want to live for something. They want to create meaning in their life, and the way to do that is to create impact.
But that's not true for everyone. Everyone has the idea of want to do it. Everyone wants to do great, right? But there's certain circumstances where you just satisfy things. But just not everyone is going to do it. Just
everyone's definition is different, and I think it matters where you are in your life.
Yeah.
I think even for the very successful people who have a lot of money, have a lot of wealth, have done everything. They get to that point too when they're like, what is there left to do?
Yeah. Then
their adversity is, what am I living for?
Yeah.
Or what is next? And that next, once they have everything, is the legacy you leave behind.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're forgotten. One of my favorite quotes, and I don't know word for word, but it's I forget who it was, but they asked the person, how do you measure, what is a successful life to you? And he goes, the number of people who show up at my funeral. That's because it's about the people you impact, right? And they show up for you when you're dead. So you impact all those lives. So this idea of impact is something that is really true to us.
Yeah.
So impact for you. I mean, when I create it, but what is impact? Like, what does that look like? For you.
So when I was growing up, like when I was in college, I studied government politics, right? I want to go to law school. I want to study. I want to do immigration, international law, specifically for human rights, right? Specifically for if you go to third world country, right? There are people like females doesn't allow them to go to, like man versus women's are gap. There's a gap. Like if you're female working for, you are allowed to do on labor hours. There's guys that are not living in, our farmers are not allowed to get jobs in the city. If you grew up in a certain family name, you can work in the city or get a work in technology or anything like that, right? I want to have some kind of, I want to be able to educate the third world country to not necessarily westernized way, but educate them in terms of labor side of it, right? Work smarter as opposed to having someone else come into your town and take advantage of your labor force. Train the people in the village how to grow a rice crop. Have them start their own entrepreneurial business, which just like because they have the resources. It just they don't have enough education to know that. I think this is the most deep that I ever went into in terms of like knowing exactly. I think we just forced that, but which is great. I didn't even expect that.
Well, I'm gonna take you a step further.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do to make that happen?
Oh, I never actually even touched this kind of. I never touched this scope of how I was gonna do that. I just came up with it now that I'm thinking. At this moment. I'm inspired, but I guess, for example, I think it's just educating our people, educating people that are from those countries who has a name, right? Building a team that are willing to sacrifice their, wealth, coming up with a group of entrepreneurs who are well successful, getting them to come together in a table and talk to them and coming up with a plan of how we could basically maybe open a clinic or something like that, right? In those smaller towns and bring all these farmers, wife, kids, bring them in, and finding talking to them like how we should go proceed on doing that. Yeah, like going back to your quote, right? You said, when you die, your success or your impact will be based on the people that comes to your funeral. There's also a quote from Gladiator: "Whatever we do in life will echo eternally." It's a great quote, but it doesn't mean it has to echo like you have to be the founder of Apple, right? You have to be just make something in your community or around your friends that say, "Hey, he didn't invent Apple, but he made some kind of influence in my life to make me be a better person." Or, he did this for his community. I did, because of that, I want to do something for my community. So I respect that. So if you die, you like, okay, what does my each friends or family or the people I touched or interacted with feel about me? So yeah, that's actually a great point.
It's great to hear you wanting to help so many people like this in need, and now you want to live a life of purpose, and to do that, you want to give these people the tools to create the most of their lives.
Yeah, I think it's also the overcoming their adversity in a way, right?
Yeah.
If I give them the resource, they could overcome those status quo's adversity that all these people that live in those communities called, not just like third world countries, just like United States, right? If you give them those skills, or they're not in this bubble anymore. They're not stuck in this bubble. They will reach for something outside that bubble. They will know something that's bigger than this, like bigger than their small little town or villages they're from, right? You give them looking at the world from space as opposed to just sitting at the moment in the small little chair, looking up instead of looking down on things.
Yeah, I think there's no perfect time to pursue your idea of impact.
Yeah.
I think you need to ask yourself these questions that I'm asking you to really hone in on what is impact for me and what are the steps I need to take to do it, because going back to what you said earlier, to bring this full circle is talk about people who can overcome adversity, they do more talking than do action. It's the same idea.
Thing.
You gotta do less talking and more action, and you don't have to think that you have a plan that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think by actually taking action and doing something, you're gonna learn along the way. But at least it's moving.
Yeah.
And it's moving in the right direction.
Just when I want to get off the train and actually take the chance again in my life, like I did leaving my old job.
You don't have to go off the train.
Yeah.
You don't have to go off the train. Maybe you have to ride with the training wheels to see where you're at, and then once you get to a point where it's really stable and the vision's a little clearer, then I think that's the better time to take a leap that's not as big.
Yeah. It's the next step in my life that I want to focus on, and I think this is a great stepping stone to just covering that. So it's just great. So there was a great question though. Got me on my feet, and I was like, damn, I have to come up with something. And it just came up. But yeah.
Everyone is like you. Everyone has something they want to do, and they don't know when to do it.
Yeah.
They don't know. They're afraid if it's even worth their time, because, again, it's the unknown. Anytime you're trying to go into the unknown. But again, I just try to remind everyone that it's one of the best phrases, YOLO, right?
Yeah.
You live only once. And there's going to be a point in time when you're going to be too old
to realize
to do any of these things, and it's going to be too late. And you're going to be playing catch up with your life.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone is so focused on their career and their job that sometimes their life takes a back seat. And eventually, once you get older and you've worked for many, many years, you're going to realize that your life has been lost, and you have to now work just as hard to get your life back.
And when you're old, you're too old for that shit.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have the energy. So
yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah. Definitely.
I have one final question
Yes.
to ask everybody,
Yeah.
and this just ties back to our mission at Labor, and it's, what is your advice to people on how to live a more creative and meaningful life?
I think just keep it simple. Just take a step back, like you said, and think about what you want to do in long term, not just short term, not for financial reason. Just step back and look around you, look at your family, look at your friends, and because they're the foundation of your dreams and hopes and your future. And then take a deep breath, and then then you take a step.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shafin, for your time, your wisdom. I know next time I see you, you're going to be helping third world countries with the education they need to live the lives they want.
All right. This is awesome.
See you, Shafin.